You've seen this aircraft before. Maybe in a magazine or in a museum, with a crowd of people admiring it like art. That which you have seen is known as the RYAN ST. Today, you can build your very own RYAN ST-L. And you can build it from a kit.
Well, hi, my name is Brooks Mershon, and this behind me here is the Timber Tiger ST-L, and I'm involved with this project now. Very lucky to be the caretaker of this plane for this chapter of its life. This is the prototype Timber Tiger ST-L. I originally got involved with this project in 2020, just before Christmas, to do the initial test flying. You know, the very first flights for the entire phase 1 testing of this experimental aircraft, and was very proud to have been picked to do that and work with the designer, Nick Fanninsteel, and that led to eventually me moving from Boulder. I had a remote software engineering job that allowed me to move to what used to be Hale Wallace's workshop in Marion, North Carolina, while he was working here. I got a hangar, workshop, home, live here on a private airstrip, and I moved here, and then Oshkosh was coming around. I go back to Boulder. I checked out the pilot that took it to Oshkosh, Glenn Gordon, who did a lot of the CAD and engineering work, bringing the plane to basically to market. And he flew it to Oshkosh. We hung out a bunch there. I was at the booth every day, and I guess made a convincing argument that a good next step for the plane would be to come and live with me, at least for a little while, following Oshkosh, so that we could figure out what the next steps were, and in the meantime fly it a lot. So what is this? Well, first of all, it sure looks a lot like a 1933 RYAN ST. It's a replica. So the whole idea of this plane is that the RYAN ST was something that everyone fell in love with when it came out, and a lot of people are still in love with, because it's a beautiful aircraft with excellent handling qualities. The problem is there aren't that many of them. Pretty hard to get your hands on a real one. I think there might be one flying one in the US, and a couple more New Zealand and Australia, stuff like that. So there's a need for a replica, and that's what this is. This is a 95% scale replica of a RYAN ST. Why 95%? Well, right off the bat, a lot of weight savings. So when you scale stuff, mass tends to have a cubic scaling function. Okay, so turns out you save about 250 pounds off of the original by going to 95% scale. And what that does is it suddenly puts the plane in a different weight class. It puts the power requirements into more affordable options, like a Rotax 912 crammed in the nose of this thing. So one, we're looking at something that has a much cheaper power plant, and modern power plants, inline Manasco engine, not that easy to go grab one and put in your plane, and it's kind of a boat anchor at that. So now you can put a 912 in the front of this thing, and it also qualifies for as a light sport airplane. The empty weight of this plane, as it is sitting right now, is 814 pounds with enough oil to be safe in it, and that's pretty incredible. That's actually within 5 pounds of the empty weight of the Pitts S1 that's sitting right next to it. Let's talk a little bit about how this plane is constructed. The wing is all metal ribs, all metal spar. It's covered with fabric and paint, but it's kind of neat that there's no wood in the wing, and the construction techniques lend themselves to being strong and easy. With nice CNC cut parts that go together as the ribs in this plane attached to the spar, and then covering it with, in this case, Stewart systems when you're all done. the rest of the plane, we have an aluminum monocoque fuselage. So basically, the skins on this fuselage connected with bulkheads, bam, 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 as you go down the fuselage, you end up with these series of bulkheads, and the skin in between them is stressed. So part of the rigidity of this plane, the structure, is actually coming from skin that is being stressed, and that's pretty neat. And you can just chase the rivet lines down the plane. You have these longerons that are kind of straddling you on the cockpit, but if you look at the lines that are running vertically, that's the placement of all the bulkheads on this thing. And those are basically built up in jigs at the factory to make everything easier for the builder. Can't lay it on a flat table, so you actually need jigs to hold everything in alignment. And that's something that Timber Tiger can do for you, which is nice. These flying wires, just like what you see on biplanes, they're basically these aerodynamic, stretched aluminum wires under a tremendous amount of tension. They actually are pretty much the bridge structure keeping all this thing together. And actually, what we're looking at here are both flying wires down here below the wing and landing wires above the wing. So what I'm holding onto right now is something that under negative G, or the force of landing and the wings wanting to kind of continue on towards the ground, well, they're held up by a few hundred pounds of tension on these wires. And then down here, these wires are keeping the wings from folding up. They basically take the loads through the spar to the landing gear and back up to the fuselage. And what's also kind of neat is that there's all sorts of different sizes of flying wires here. So we've got these thick 1/2-inch ones right here under a tremendous amount of tension and a short length, and then stepping down in size, and then the lightest size of the landing wires on top.
Hey guys, 1 second. Hey guys, you've probably seen me traveling a whole lot these days. What makes all this possible, getting this original aviation content, is sponsors like these.
Dynon Avionics at dynonavionics.com. Airtech Coatings at airtechcoatings.com. Airworx at airworxaviation.com. AviNation at avinationusa.com. Check the description below for links to these great companies. And visit our website at experimentalaircraftchannel.com for events, our video library arranged in easy-to-find playlists on specific topics, affiliate products, aviation merchandise, and so much more. If you like these videos that we are producing weekly, give that like button a click and engage all notifications so you don't miss a single episode.
The landing gear looks like the original, but it's not quite exactly the same beast. In fact, it's been improved to make it both more mechanically simple as well as to actually handle better, to track better on the ground. So the original Ryan had leading link gear. There's a reason you don't see that on a lot of different aircraft, and it's because the geometry as the gear is kind of moving and flexing, and the suspension is actually working, changes, and that makes the plane a bit of a handful on pavement. Instead here, we've got trailing link gear with our suspension being made by an arm that can move with a rubber puck, kind of like a Mooney, to basically be a shock absorber. So it's a very simple system, and it works pretty well. I'm going to show you how we get in and out of this aircraft. We've got this little wing walk here that we can step on, come up on the structure, step on the seat, tuck myself in just like this. So now we're down in the hole. Left hand on the throttle, right hand on the stick. Awesome. The actual width of this fuselage was kept at 100% of the original because people haven't gotten smaller over time. But everything else is a 95% scale. I mean, I like to kind of cruise climb away from the airport at around 60 knots, but VY about 55 knots, VX about 48 knots, and when it's nice and smooth, I like to approach around 50 knots. If it's a little bumpy, 60 knots gives you a little bit more authority. This has very nice handling characteristics, not only in low speed handling, but also at any permutation I can get it into with slipping. So I mean, I can stand on the rudder in this thing, aggressively slipping, dragging those wheels sideways through the air. There's no buffeting, blanketing of the tail. So when I need to come down over the trees for like short field landing, I am very much slipping the plane, and you know, you can drop this thing in between 50 and 60 knots, and you know, be well stopped within 1,000 feet. You know.
What is your cruise and what is your VME on here?
VME, we put it at 135 knots, and we've tested it up to that. And cruise, 5,200 RPM on the Rotax, gives us about 86 knots true at 2,500 feet. You know, just about a standard day out here.
And your stall?
Stall speed indicated, you're going to see a number in the low 30s knots, but we're just about 40 knots true stall speed.
All right, Brooks, so how can people get a hold of you or the company to find out more about this aircraft, and maybe where could they see it in person?
Well, if you want to find out more about this plane, go to timbertigeraircraft.com. We got a new website that is just about to go live, and you can learn about the plane. You can look at, you know, everything about the kit, pricing, order forms, gallery, pictures, videos, and you know, Nick would be happy to talk to you. Nick Fan and Steel is the designer and owner of Timber Tiger Aircraft, and I'm happy to talk to people too. You know, you can actually come and visit us and visit the plane. You know, if you want to learn more about the airfield, where the plane is, 9 Alpha 9 is the identifier, and the website is 9 Alpha, spelled out, ALPHA 9.org. You can learn about the airfield and maybe make a plan to come visit the plane and hopefully get a demo ride. As far as what's going to be happening with the plane in the coming weeks, months, years, well, taking it to fly-ins, and I'm constantly looking for ones that'll work with you know, my availability. I get suggestions all the time, people on the field, and if you have suggestions, please reach out, give us a shout. Maybe there's some smaller fly-ins we have not heard of that we would love to attend.
Thanks for watching this week's episode. Remember to rivet down that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit all the bell notifications so you don't miss a single episode. I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for watching.